Hello everyone, there have been quite a few updates and cases in the last week or so. So today we're going to be discussing some new information that's come out in the murders of Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley. First off, if you don't know about this case, I definitely recommend going and watching the previous 3 videos I did covering this case. I'll have the playlist down below, as well as the little thing at the top here that you can click on to take you there, because this video is not really going to make sense if you don't know about all the other information in the case. And then, click back over here and continue on. Okay, so now that we're all on the same page, if you remember back in my last video where we went over the affidavit, there were 4 arrests. Grandma Tifany Adams, her boyfriend Cullum, and then their married friends, the Twomblys. But if you remember, there was a 5th person involved that Cora Twombly's daughter mentioned to police, and that is 31-year-old Paul Grice. Now, Paul here, we didn't know too much about. We did know, however, that he has a very lovely family, it looks like, with a wife and 3 children. That he's now sacrificed over helping murder 2 women, allegedly. And from the little that we do know, he may be a farmer or some kind of rancher as well, which would make sense with the area that they live in. However, Paul here has now made some interesting statements since he's been arrested as well and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree, as all his co-conspirators have been charged with. And Paul also seems to be part of the anti-government group called God's Misfits. And he really seemed to be leaning into all of that, despite the leader of God's Misfits, whose name is Squirrel, denying knowing any of these individuals and saying that he doesn't share the same God as them. According to the probable cause arrest affidavit for Paul Grice, he admitted to not only being part of planning and then killing Veronica and Jilian, but he also allegedly admitted to being part of the previous attempts to kill Veronica, the ones that we talked about in our previous videos. On top of that, in a land statement from 2023, Paul wrote, and I quote, "I am not a sovereign citizen. I am not a resident, employee, or citizen of the United States government corporation, sites in Washington, the District of Columbia. My relationship to the federal entity as far as jurisdiction is that of a non-resident alien to the corporate United States government, also known as an American state national or lawful bloodline American." End quote. And it goes on from there if you want to pause the screen and keep reading. On another page, he claims his children are his, and I quote, "God-given property and subject to none other. There is a maximum law that says what one creates, one controls. Government did not create my children and therefore does not control my children." End quote. In another quote in the document, he writes, and I quote, "I have lived a productive and eventful life, now in anticipation for the end in God's mercy and grace. Undoubtedly, the singularly most horrific moment of that life was the conviction to repudiate my citizenship of the United States. Those words, repudiate my citizenship, crushed the very soul within me." End quote. Man, the dramatics from Paul Grice. I cannot imagine how insufferable he must be to sit in a room with. And hey, I believe what you want to believe. But when it comes to that belief then leading you to think that you can murder people and that be okay, and that you don't have to abide by any rules, and that human life isn't worth anything other than your lives because you guys believe in something that other people don't, that's where you draw the line with me. Now, when it comes to the other 4, they all appeared in court a couple weeks back, and we have these lovely shots of their perp walks. It said that Veronica and Jilian's families filled 3 rows in the courtroom, reportedly heckling and shedding expletives at them.
This is Tifany Adams, her boyfriend Cullum, and Cole and Cora Twombly as they made their first appearances in court on Wednesday.
It's very heartbreaking. It sucks losing a family member, much less a sibling, someone you grew up with.
I feel like it's brought our family real close too. Like, I know there's beauty in pain, so it kind of helps me cope.
From Guyman and the surrounding towns, all driving miles just to come to the court hearing today. Many of them telling me they just wanted to support the victims.
To show the family our support. There's not much we can do, but as a community we can come together and rally around the families right now.
I mean, you go to the store and people are talking about it.
Communities rallying together Wednesday in support of 2 Kansas women who lost their lives in the Oklahoma Panhandle. Outside the courthouse, dozens of people lined up, also in support.
It's consumed my life. I'm just glad that the people that need to be caught got caught.
The sheriff of Texas County telling me how tight-knit the community is and how the tragedy has affected everyone.
This is a tough deal, all right? We're not just police officers that go out and arrest people. We have feelings too.
We lost a beautiful, beautiful young lady that would do anything for anybody. This is stuff that movies are made of. It's not. This shouldn't be our life.
which honestly, good for them. These people are the lowest of the low, and I really don't care if their feelings get hurt, which I doubt they will if the family is shouting, fuck you at them. Veronica's aunt saying, and I quote, "There's just too many emotions, so much anger. I don't understand how somebody can hate somebody so much that they want to kill them. My niece did not deserve that, and neither did the young lady with her. She was just there to help her." End quote. Now, I also seen that Grandma Tiffany, and I quote, did provide a recorded statement to law enforcement indicating her responsibility for the death of the deceased. End quote. If that's true, that means her, along with Paul Grice, both admitted to murdering them. However, they're all pleading not guilty. So that's at least 2 out of the 5 of them that have admitted to doing this, and now they're pleading not guilty, which is just, this is going to be a hell of a trial. Especially since, as we even just see from Paul Grice, where he doesn't think he's a citizen of the United States. So I'm sure they're going to try to use those tactics possibly, and it's going to be a hell of a trial. Documents have also come out alleging that Tiffany and Tad have a history of violent interactions, including issuing death threats and intimidation. They apparently abide by their own rules and have no regards for human life, it seems, which is really funny to me that there's all of this preaching of the word of God so much in both of them. Paul Grice, the Twomblys, I'm sure as well are included in that, with this belief of God's misfits. Yet as far as I know, God's whole thing is, preserving human life and that you shouldn't kill people. But then again, it seems like they didn't think Veronica or Jilian were innocent in all of this because of their own delusional thinking. So they probably thought it was justified to kill them then, which is, again, in my opinion, delusional thinking. And as we know, Tiffany was trying to even keep the children away from their own father, from Wrangler. And it really truly does seem like Grandma Tiffany wanted complete control of these children, not even from Veronica, but from her own son as well. And I truly do believe that she wanted to have control of these children so that she could go on and also raise them to believe this same bizarre thing of this God's misfit narrative that they had in their heads, which is really scary to think what these children have witnessed being under Tiffany's control all of this time, since Veronica didn't have custody of them and their father was in jail. And if anything, that right there to me is a motive, that she wanted to be able to control these children. She wanted to be able to raise them the way she felt they should be raised, even though they weren't her own children. I also read that when Tad was arrested, he had a to-go bag, body armor, ammunition, and a rifle ready. So no wonder police showed up with literal tanks to arrest these people. No wonder locals were scared of these people. Now, when it comes to Veronica and Jilian's murders, we still don't have an autopsy. We don't have any information surrounding that. However, I did see that News Nation was able to confirm with the medical examiner that the 2 women were in fact not shot. But as I said, their cause of death is still pending. All of their autopsy information is still pending, which makes me wonder if they weren't shot, were those stun guns used to subdue them, and then was that hammer used to attack them? Because the hammer was broken. But again, that is just a theory off of this very loose information that we do have. But if that ends up being true, that most likely means that these women suffered a very slow, painful death, which is just, it's awful. Now, according to the landlord of the property that Veronica and Jilian's bodies were found on, he would go on to tell authorities that Tad had allegedly told him that he had dug that 10-foot grave on the land to do some dirt work, which is like excavating the land to do other things on it, essentially. And it wasn't only just to do some dirt work, it was also to bury concrete. Tad also allegedly asked Jamie Beasley, the landowner, if he could borrow a skid steer so that he could remove a stump as well as dig on the property, which Jamie Beasley ended up telling him, yeah, do whatever you want. You're renting the property. Go ahead. However, when the 2 women would go missing, Tad would go to Jamie and basically tell him, like, police are going to start suspecting me and speculating because of all this digging I've been doing on the land. So could you basically tell police that I was just, doing some digging for fun and to level out the land and stuff, nothing nefarious, which Jamie, as far as we know at this point, he only knew that, that Tad seemed to just be wanting to dig for fun or whatever. So Jamie then agreed, yeah, if the police come asking, I'm going to tell them, as far as I know, you were just trying to level out some dirt. So at this point, Jamie has not been arrested. As far as we know, he was essentially being manipulated as well by these people, but essentially Tad was trying to get Jamie to lie to police, even though Jamie didn't know the other stuff allegedly. So is it truly lying? I don't think so, because that's all he knew. But it's interesting to see that they were all trying to manipulate even more people. But that's kind of the information that has come out in the last couple weeks. I wanted to just bring all of this up and chat with you all because information has just been trickling out slowly, and I don't want to just make, 5-minute videos on little things that keep popping up. So If anything really big comes up, I'll talk about it. But other than that, I'll kind of do these accumulative videos. So maybe a couple weeks from now, if more information comes out over the next couple weeks that isn't, you know, super major, but just kind of adds all together that I can create a video to talk with you all, we'll do that. I'm really curious, since this is going to trial, if any of that stuff will come out or what's going to be kept, you know, hidden from the public until it comes to trial. But what I also really am interested in is what all of these individuals have said during interrogation. Because again, it seems like Grandma Tiffany and Paul Grice admitted to police that they did do this. So did they tell police exactly what they did? Did they tell police exactly how they killed Veronica and Jilian? I'm very curious about that. And I'm also really curious what their whole excuse was for doing it. But just from the information we do know, it's horrific. These poor women, especially if they were killed slowly, it's awful. It's horrific either way. But let me know how you're all feeling about this new information. Let's chat down below. I'll be down there with you chatting. And is there any information I didn't include in this video that you know about? As always, my heart goes out to Jilian and Veronica's families. I hope you all stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I hope to see you in the next video.